Hey everybody, you're watching Om Sweet Om on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Hi everybody, welcome to Om Sweet Om. I'm yoga instructor Alison Schuster, and today we're at Rival Yoga and we're talking to instructor Don Horn. Hey Don.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm good. Good to see you again.
It's great to see you. Now I've got to give the backstory so that people know how we met, not just through yoga, but quite a while ago. What, 20 years
It take
ago?
a while.
20 years ago.
I don't want to think about it.
20 years ago we met because you designed my home, right? And so a lot of you like to see my house on some of our Om Sweet Om episodes, and if you see me pose of the week out by the pond, that was your creation,
It's a beautiful
right?
pond.
It's
It's a very nice
beautiful.
place.
It is a beautiful home. So you're an architect by trade and a designer, and made a big leap and came into yoga. So
Well, I got older.
let's start there. Like what prompted that? Because when I ran into you years later and I said, oh my goodness, Don, run into you right here at Rival Yoga and said, you're an instructor. How did that happen? So tell us about it.
Well, it's a kind of scary story, actually. At a young age, I felt a young age, at the age of 44, I wound up needing quadruple bypass surgery with my heart situation. And that was very scary because it came as close to passing as I ever want to come. And as part of the rehab to get back to this, even my HMO would pay for me to take yoga as part of a whole lifestyle change. But I resisted that because I was old and I couldn't do yoga. But finally I met someone who was a yoga teacher and got me into it. And then after the third class, I can do this.
You're hooked.
Yeah, and it really made a difference. And after a relatively short time, meaning a few years of practice, I feel like I actually got younger. I feel a lot better. The pain's all gone. The sciatica's gone. I had wrist problems. I had the carpal tunnel syndrome. I wore braces on both wrists for 24 hours a day. It was that bad. It's gone. Basically just restoring what was there before at a much younger age, before 20, 30 years of, deterioration set in. By not being active, not eating right, having changed that, I feel really good now.
And I always tell people, for me, yoga is a lifestyle. It's not just exercising, it's a full lifestyle change and even a mindset change.
And it works. It totally works, and one of the reasons why I want to stay being a teacher is I can pay that back in a way that someone changed my life totally, and I'm still alive. And when I was a young person, with the heart disease that ran in our family, I kind of knew that I wasn't going to be that old. I wasn't going to live that long. Well, now at 67, I'm thinking there's no reason in the world why I couldn't be 100 years old.
Why not?
And still ambulatory, still getting around and staying young.
And enjoying life.
Yes, being outside, doing whatever you want to do, you can do with fitness, diet, and exercise. But yoga is something that everybody can do. Anyone could do it, and at any age. And it's just a matter of getting started with it. And I think you'll like it.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. I think a lot of times the reaction is maybe the same reaction you had was, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, right?
I've even had people starting saying it was a lady come in and she pointed out she was a Christian and she wouldn't be able to do.
I've had that as well.
This is not a religion.
Religion.
It's a lifestyle for sure. But it's gets you off maybe some medications. The summary just made me younger. I reset the clock many years to be able to do whatever I want to do.
And I tell people quite often that yoga is the fountain of youth, and you're a
It is.
living
Yeah,
example of
it
that,
is.
right? You drink from that fountain, and here you are.
Yeah.
And not only taking it to just you taking classes, you now instruct.
Yes.
Right. Now, why the move to be an instructor?
Well, it teaches me. The thing is any exercise program you pick up, you might go to a gym and do weights, but can you do this for 40 years, forever basically, because that's what your whole life you have to do this. Well, yoga, you can progress to all kinds of things. We were talking before about poses like Warrior 3 and Half Moon. You don't ever have to do those, but as you progress, you think, you know what, I can do this. I can stand on one foot. I can do that too. And you keep progressing so that when you're much older, you're still doing something anyhow. You know, you're not on the cover of Yoga Journal, but you think, I could.
But you could
yeah, right. You work towards that. The idea is to keep going. And I tell the students in my classes, the idea is, look at always progression, always progress. If you do the exact same thing many times, you'll get bored and you'll probably stop. Or you'll think, oh, okay, I'm here, I arrived, I don't need to do this anymore. But with lots of different types of yoga, lots of different types of practices, you can move around, you can change up what you're doing. And if you have a bad day, there's easy stuff to do. And if you have a good day, there's challenging stuff you could do. What you do is you learn how to use your own body as weight training, to become more flexible, to be stronger for sure, to balance, to learn to breathe. They don't teach you to breathe, that you can breathe by using certain breathing patterns. You can invoke the parasympathetic nervous system, in other words, the relaxation response. You're in a stressful situation, say, okay, I got to relax, and then do that. I put myself to sleep when I need to. I'm too busy. I'm thinking all these things I got to do. I got to get to sleep, and then you go through the relaxation process, the shavasana.
Right.
So there's lots to learn in this process of yoga. It's not just doing tree or.
It's not just a fitness regimen.
It's not just a fitness thing, no, but it's a lifestyle. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and you've even taken it to there's some interesting ways to do yoga. I teach aerial yoga here at Rival, but you also got involved in acro yoga.
Yeah, and that was another scary thing, but I guess that's the point, is that you can be challenged all along a continuum. If you're in a walker and you can barely move, you can still do yoga.
Right.
But if you're fit, you can do what started out as partner yoga, two people doing it together, and then it's sort of morphed with the younger people getting into acrobatic yoga, where one's on the floor supporting someone up in the air, and they're just going through things. Just watch videos. You'll see videos all over the place of acro yoga.
Acro yoga.
And it's something that you think, that is just so amazing that must be fixed on a camera somehow, or whatever.
It's those camera angles, right?
But it turns out that after some very minimal practice, my wife and I, we're both 67, we do it at home. And it sort of reminds me of if you're playing with the grandkids, they're up on your feet and you're doing things. Well, we're doing that.
We're doing it.
And I think it just does keep you young. It's a challenge, but you're not under pressure. I don't have to do certain things, and you see something like that, okay, I'm not going to do that. That's fine. Or,
but it adds a little adventure into
it, does.
doesn't it? It's something,
very adventurous,
again, where you can take it.
I can tell you to impress the heck out of the grandkids too.
You're getting the grandkid vote with that one.
Yeah, and when you see young kids doing some things, they'll do handstands or cartwheels, and the fact is, you can do that too.
You can do that too.
Now, I don't really want to do that, but I'm getting to a point where I think, I could, and if I were to progress more, I could do those things.
Right.
And some of the things I do with them right there. just go ahead and pop in and do it.
Why not? Why not?
You can.
Yeah, and then you're even pursuing this a little further, right, as far as training goes?
Yeah, it's sort of, yoga is, as an exercise program, is generically body weight workout. In other words, the reason I really like that concept is because I'm fundamentally very lazy. Like, I don't want to have to go to the gym and there's all this hardware there. In fact, for our own house, we bought it. We had a Smith machine and we had benches and weights. And all this stuff, I had to go there to do it. And it was kind of boring. It's in your basement, and I didn't really like that. And as I progressed with yoga, I see that this is really just body weight workout, like calisthenics. And then after many years, I guess 10 years now, I looked into calisthenics. Because there's some things you can do in calisthenics you don't do in yoga. And use my own body weight, I can do lots of things, and that's what the idea of this body weight workout is. And so I thought, I'll look into personal training, not so much to be a personal trainer, but to see what they know and what's involved with that.
Right.
And to be able to go even beyond yoga into another style, I guess you could say.
Right.
Calisthenics being one of them, but it's always body weight workouts. So if we're traveling, we're in a hotel or wherever you are, even in Giant Eagle, I make the kind of joke of it. If you're in Giant Eagle, look, you can do tree while you're in line. You don't have to.
I say this all the time.
You don't have to go to the gym.
That's right.
You can, and there's a social component there, like group classes. There's a very strong social component to that, to be in a group class, and I like that. I like to go to a class or have the class. Because that's part of it. It's sort of like keeps everybody together. And the reason to be an instructor was it forces me to stay current. Because again, I'm very actually fundamentally lazy. I kind of like the idea of just taking it easy.
Take it easy, don't do it, right.
Well, I learned that too from my condition was stress was not a good thing, and yoga is extremely, very good for stress. So having accomplished that, I'm much more adventurous now to
look to the next
try something else.
step.
Yeah, so I'm looking to be very busy for the next 40 years. That's the goal.
Now, what advice are you going to give to the person who maybe was you? Turn back the clock. Was you saying, I'm too old, I can't do that?
Well, not just only old, but being male is a real disadvantage because we don't listen. I had this.
All the ladies are agreeing right now, right?
I had chest pains, and I have a whole family history. All of my family has this condition. I had chest pains, and I thought I must have hit something. Or playing soccer, I must have took a hit. I think I knew what it was, but I wasn't going to admit that at all.
Right.
So my wife's bugging me about it, and finally it got pretty bad. I drove to the hospital myself, and I was scared to death because I thought I waited too long.
Right.
If I was going to have a heart attack, it was going to be fatal because of where my blockages were.
Right.
And that scared the heck out of me, which got me into this. But the problem is getting started, is stepping over a threshold. And I really don't know. I can only tell you what I did, and that was it. It scared me to death, where I was literally speechless. The nurse kept handing me the phone, call home. I couldn't talk, and I didn't. So finally she dialed the number and stuck it there. And so I told my wife, I'm in the hospital, and they won't let me out. So that was a real wake-up call.
Point.
The thing is to get there before
that happens.
That happens, yeah. So if you can just step over that threshold and start in the most easiest way you can, and then build on that too.
Yeah. And it may be just one class. Try it.
Yep.
Might be one class,
and they're usually
go.
free too. So.
Right, yeah, that's the very true. So why not just try one class?
If someone's willing to try it, then I'm all in to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, and I think as instructors, we love when a new face walks in the door and they say, I've never done this before.
Yep.
And you're
and
like,
you can do
well,
it.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's just do this.
So it's really gratifying actually to do that, and that really keeps me going too with it.
And not only the physical possibilities that you now see of the different things you can do, but I think it opened up that mindset of, hey, these are good years.
Yeah, I did a
we're
best.
going to live these years,
oh, yeah,
right?
because I didn't expect to be this old, tell you the truth. And I asked people that, I says, you can live to be 100. And I said, I don't want to live that long. I don't want to be that old. But you're not old. You're experienced. You have 100 years of life behind you. But you're just like you are right now. And there's no reason why you can't do that. Maybe you have I have a chronic disease, and it's not stopping me.
Let's keep going.
You can keep going. Yes, it can be done. So that's the thing is, you can do it.
That's awesome, Don. Well, we're so glad that you joined us today, and maybe we're inspiring some new yogis out there to get moving. We hope so. If people want to take your class, where can we find you?
Well, I'm here at Acro Yoga in Allison Park, 7 p.m. on Thursday evenings.
All right, come and do a little yoga with Don and try it out.
Sure.
We're going to stay right here at Acro Yoga, and we're going to try a little yoga today. So I'll meet you in a moment on the mat. we're back, and I want to work today on some key poses to match what Dawn and I talked about just getting started with yoga. I want to take 3 poses today and show you how you can start, right? The most basic version, then maybe a middle of the road, and then maybe the ultimate version when we want to bump it up a little bit, and we want to just get started, and I want to show you how easy that is to do. Dawn gave you such a great reason to do it, right? Put a little life into your years. So whether you are 20 or whether you are 90, this is something that you can do and get started and enjoy. So we're just going to slow it down today, and I want to take the 3 poses and then show you where you can take them and the engagements that make it possible. We're going to start out standing on your mat. Let's take that big breath in, because we always start with the breath, right? And as Dawn mentioned, we can learn so much just by breathing. Take a big breath in. Use that exhale. See if you can fill the lungs. One more nice deep breath in. We're going to bring those hands to heart center and start our practice. Maybe just start with the breath. And that can be at your desk at work. It can be in that checkout line, like Dawn was saying. It can be in traffic when you get a little irritated. But start with the breath. Then we're going to take that breath into the poses. So today we're going to start standing with airplane pose. Let's bring the right foot forward, and we just take that left foot back. So we're in our nice crescent lunge. Now, that lunge can be here, right? It doesn't have to go low. Mine goes a little lower, but you'll get there eventually. Let's bring those hands to heart center. And I want you to stretch those arms out nice and wide. Nice airplane wings. Just lift the gaze. You can gaze forward, find that point on the wall. It'll help you get your balance. Now we're engaging the belly. Draw the belly button in. We're just tucking that tailbone underneath, and we're going to reach those arms out nice and wide. Now, maybe you stay right here, right? If balance is a challenge, maybe we're keeping it here. Maybe you can hinge at the hip, right? A little low airplane. We got this nice wingspan. We want to really reach with those arms. Stretch it out wide. Now, maybe it's feeling pretty good. Let's take that middle of the road option. Maybe you can shift the weight and just point that toe behind you. Taking that nice deep breath in. Maybe you can start to just lift it up just a little bit, right? And just play with that balance. See where that shift goes. Set it back down if you need to. Reach the arms out. Maybe you can hold this here for 3, maybe 5 breaths and just get used to balancing and putting a little pressure into those feet and legs, drawing the belly in, reaching the arms out. There's a little lift in the chest, right? We're starting to engage the whole body. Then maybe if you want to take it the whole way, we just start to let that leg rise up into airplane. Taking a couple of deep breaths here. Now, maybe you take it to warrior 3. Those arms can come forward. If you're like, oh, there's no way that's happening, Allison, warrior 3 can be right here too. We can press that foot down, right, and reach those arms forward. So wherever you take it, we can always adapt. And on any given day, that balance might be a little different. Now, maybe we take it back to that warrior 3. And we can always reach those arms out wide and just sort of play with it, bringing them forward, taking it wide. One more. Maybe we bring that forward, and then we take it wide. Now, if we're feeling pretty balanced, maybe we even can take it into half moon. Just go ahead and drop those hands down. We open the hips, press that foot back. Nice deep breath in, just stretch it out. And then bring those 2 feet together. So that's a great pose. Starting out in airplane, taking it a little further, maybe that warrior 3, and then maybe eventually you can take it to that half moon. Now, I've got a whole bunch of props behind me. If you're in my class, you know I use props all the time. So maybe we grab that block as well. Now that block can steady us. So if we take that airplane pose, maybe that block's down there. Maybe we start out with the hands on the block. Maybe we then bring those arms up so we can use it to steady that posture. Maybe even when we take it to that warrior 3, we can press into the foot. Hands can come down to the block. Just steady yourself, and you begin to feel where that leg can go. We can even use that block to take us into our half moon, reaching it up. Draw that belly in and bring it back down. So starting out, I always recommend props for every level of yoga, but it's really nice when you're starting out to have kind of a place to center yourself, to catch your balance. So we started with a standing pose. We're going to take it halfway now. We're going to take it down to plank. Now, when we start plank in a beginner yoga class, we keep the knees down, right? So we start out with our shoulders above the wrists. I'm pressing away from the mat. I'm going to press into the tops of the feet, right? Maybe you can move those knees back just a little bit, and maybe you can lift those legs up. Just feel that sense of balance. You can even take it down through a chaturanga if you want. Bend the elbows. Little scoop up into cobra. Just beginning to feel your own body weight. And this is what Dawn and I were talking about. The idea of using your own body weight as the resistance in yoga becomes a very powerful tool. Now, if we want to take that plank just a little bit further, maybe we start by just extending the legs. So we press into the mat, tuck the toes underneath, and just extend the legs. Now, you decide how long you can hold that plank. You can maybe go for 3 breaths, really deepening the breath, not holding the breath, but matching it to the movement. You can just find your groove in plank, drawing the belly in, little lift in the hips, and you give yourself as many breaths as you can. And you're going to feel that sense of holding your own body weight. And it's not just engaging those arms and saying, oh, hold me up. It's engaging the belly, little engagement in the legs, even the hips. The whole body starts to engage, and then pairing it with the breath. Slow it down and see if you can begin to match the breath with that movement. Now, we can take that plank a little further. If we're ready to bump it up, maybe we take that full plank and just bring those hands together. Maybe my thumbs are touching. I spread out those fingers, and I can begin to take it into side plank. So I put the weight into the right hand, and I take that left arm and I reach it up. And maybe I exhale it back down. Take it to the other side. Reach. And bring it back down. Maybe one more on this side. Maybe over here I even lift that leg up. Whee! Nice deep breath. And bring it back down. Take it to that other side. Reach. Maybe you lift that leg. Big stretch. And bring it back down. Knees come down. So lots of options with plank as well. In any yoga pose, we can take it to the path of least resistance, a starting point, and then build, right? And this is what Dawn was talking about. When you start, maybe you take that first pose, and that may be hard, but you work at it for a little while, and then suddenly the next version becomes possible. And that's the awesome part about yoga. All right, we're down to the mat. Now, we're going to do pigeon today. I love pigeon because it is a great pose for all of us. Great way to gain a little hip flexibility, which we all need because we sit in chairs too much, but also a way to stretch out the legs and follow the breath. So we're going to take that plank again. So we find our nice plank. I want you to inhale that right leg up and bring the knee to nose and just set it down, pigeon lunge. Now my knee is tracking to the top of the mat. My thigh is parallel with the side edge of the mat. I'm going to bring those fingertips alongside. I want you to press into the mat. You lengthen the spine, lift with the crown of the head. Now, you might get down here and say, well, Allison, I am way up here, right? That's where the props come in. Maybe you take a block and you put it under that right hip so that you can keep the hips level. So as you breathe in pigeon, it becomes a better stretch for you. We can even take it a little higher. I've got blankets and bolsters. Maybe you need that bolster in front of you at first. Maybe you just use the bolster in front of you because it makes a nice pillow. It's awesome. You can walk those arms out. You can lay that head down, and it feels fantastic. Relaxing into pigeon lunge. You take a couple of deep breaths. So we can use the props to get you down into that space, and I recommend that you do, because as you breathe in pigeon lunge, then slowly the hips start to open, and you're going to feel a little more space, a little more openness. So it's worth it to gather those props and use them to get you into that pose. Now, maybe we can then get rid of the props, and we begin to feel that full pigeon lunge. We can come down and just stack those fists. You can bring the forehead to the fists. You can stretch those arms out nice and long, bring the forehead to the mat, and we feel the breath. We got this nice compression of the belly, so we can feel the belly rise and fall. We begin to just breathe, and each breath, that pigeon lunge will go down just a little bit further. Now, if we want to bump up our pigeon lunge, we can add a little stretch to it. So press into either side of the thigh. Again, I'm putting my gaze forward. I've got a little lift in the chest. Maybe I can bend that back leg. Maybe I can reach around and grab onto that foot. If we want to take it into mermaid, maybe you bring those fingertips to the mat. You can even use that block. Bring fingertips to a block. Just challenge the balance. Maybe you can reach that arm up. Take it into mermaid. Nice deep breath. See if you reach a little higher. Nice big stretch. And then bring it back down to the mat. And we just shift to one side. And of course, on all of these poses, I want you to do both sides. We may not have time to do it right now, but at home in your home practice, I want you to try both sides, always balancing. One side may be completely different than the other. And on any given day, the body's going to want to do different things, and we roll with it. So you might choose the path of least resistance, beginner pose. You might choose middle of the road. You might bump it up. Who knows? So we can take that journey and kind of see where the body is on any given day. And that's some of the beauty of a yoga practice at home, is you get in touch with your own body a little better. A little self-awareness goes a long way. So I want you to bring it to seated on the mat. We go back to the breath. Notice we start and end with the breath. Take those hands out to either side. A nice deep breath in. Exhale. Heart center. Let's take two more. Big breath in. Exhale. Heart center. One more. Nice deep breath in. Exhale those hands to heart center. My thanks to Dawn Horn for joining us today, giving us a little inspiration to get started. And special thanks to Rival Yoga for hosting us. Get started on your own home practice today. See if you can find a little inspiration, and then find the light within you and take it out into the world. Namaste.